Hi, everybody. Welcome. My name is Marissa Morris, and my dad and I are here today to do our show. We do this daily from 1 Pacific time until 2. We channel guides because I am a trance channel. I don't necessarily go into deep trance when we do these sessions. I did when we wrote all of our books, which we have several of. One of them is Answers Heaven Speaks. The other ones are The Bible Speaks. And my favorite one is called The Snow Globe. You can get those at my website, www.discoverintuition.com. A lot of them are free. You can do automatic downloads or the audiobooks. My dad read all the books, so they're all on audio as well. Anyway, I'm a psychic medium, is I guess what I would technically be called. I'm a healer. I teach healing, quantum healing. I teach Reiki. I teach visualization, meditation, basically like a self-help type counselor for people, and teach them how to develop their intuition and their spiritual gifts that they already have but have blocked them off. Everyone's born with spiritual abilities. We block them off around age 5 or 6, and later in life they come through as like anxiety disorders, eating disorders, drug addiction, OCD, just any mental disorder you can think of the psychiatrist has given us, or that they've made a name for, is likely spiritual abilities misdiagnosed as something that's physical, because in this world we don't really believe that there's anything beyond what's right here. So speaking of what's right here, a religion, I'd say, falls into that category a little bit. My dad is very Christian, and very open-minded though, and a seeker of truth and wisdom. And together, him as a Christian, knowing all the Bible and knowing, he's read so much. He even read the Quran, like like a lot of that, and he's read so many biblical and ancient texts and stuff like that. He's just very educated when it comes to that stuff. So he asks questions about things in that regard, and then other stuff like personally, within the books that we wrote. And then I go into trance and I answer the questions. So it's pretty interesting, our books, because you can tell that we're father-daughter, but he's asking these questions that I have no idea what the answers are, and I'm like totally just blah, 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 saying the answers to it. And it's like, oh my gosh. So what we do here on the show is my dad reads our books that we wrote, that are transcriptions of our conversations back from 2011 to like 2019, 2020. He reads those, and then I watch the energy and the connection of what was channeling at that time, and I tune into those guides, and they fill in the blanks or add stuff or remove stuff. They haven't removed anything yet, but yeah, we just have a discussion about it. So today the guides wanted me to they wanted to name the show Truth, Dare, Double Dare, Promise to Repeat. And that was an old thing that we used to do when we were little kids. When I was in 6th grade, I remember playing that game for the first time, and I was like, I don't want to play Truth or Dare. I don't want to go to the slumber party because they're going to make us play Truth or Dare. And they would dare you to do something, or you would have to tell the truth about something, or there's a double dare, or you had to repeat whatever the person that was challenging you actually said. And that was even more mortifying sometimes than telling the truth about something. So anyways, the guys want to talk about that. I have no idea what or why they want that topic, but I'm going to go ahead and let my dad introduce himself. He's down in beautiful Mexico. Uh-oh, he got knocked off. Oh, we'll wait for him to come back then. Here we go. There we go. He's down in San Blas, Mexico,
Well,
right on the beach. You can see the waves right behind him. That's like literally on the ocean. I'm out in Las Vegas, Nevada, where it's also beautiful, but it's beautiful in its own way. Oh, look at that. Oh, I want to go. I just want to dive into the screen and dive into the water. I'm from Encinitas, California. My mom and dad raised me in Santa Barbara and Encinitas, California, and I lived in Carlsbad for 20 years after that. So I'm used to that in there. Oh, that's so pretty. Anyways, I'll let my dad talk now.
Yeah, because the reason why I'm down here is because I'm like many Americans. We got slammed during the Obama recession, and I lost everything. And with everything eventually going up in value and price and everything, it was really tough to exist. And
You did save though. You did
I
save
saved,
some money though, and bought
yeah,
your place cash on. Yeah.
yeah, I saved $150,000, and what was I going to do with it? Use it and for the rest of my life and keep me going? In California, where everything's expensive, it costs $10 to drive to a grocery store and back because of gasoline. I said, screw it. I had an opportunity to buy this house for $150,000, so I went broke. But you know what? It's now worth about $500,000. But it doesn't matter. I get to live on the ocean, which is what I always wanted. I get the feng shui of the soft waves that come in, because we're actually not on a beach. It is a beach, but technically, mine is a bay. It's a bay, and Matachin Bay. But it's still, if you go way out there, you can find a line where the water actually changes color from a lighter color blue to a dark blue, and that's when it meets the Pacific Ocean. And so we do still get some waves in here, but not thundering waves.
That's always been your dream, to live in a place where it's like warm water with like waist high
little
waves.
Yeah,
Yeah.
warm water, and that's where I'm at. So God got me here somehow, some way.
Mm-hmm.
It's just one of those things, and I'm very happy about it. I don't mind coming and visiting, but I'm just blown away by all the traffic and the opulence, I guess, that you see when you get to California. And then when you're on a trolley, you get to see all the homeless. They're sleeping all over the streets, and oh God, what a mess! What a mess! You don't have homelessness down here in Mexico. Everybody
They
finds
don't?
some. No, God, you never see
Oh.
anybody sleeping outside anywhere. No way. If they were, they'd probably be dragged off to jail.
Well, because and multiple families live together too, and I think that's awesome. I think that's great. And you're not
Yeah,
supposed to
that's the whole
say,
thing.
like, I'm just going to live my family here, and parents and kids go to their own homes or whatever. So I like the culture down there.
I think you either knocked yourself out or whatever, or knocked your
Uh-oh.
speaker out. Yeah, because all of a sudden
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but you sound like you went far away.
I'll refix it. I'll fix it while you talk. Go ahead and
there
talk.
you go. Yeah, that sounds better. Anyway, yesterday we do the show every day, 1 to 5. I've been a Christian since I was reborn in 1998. I actually started going to church before that, but I was agnostic. I think I was going for the donut holes that do serve after church, rather than going and listening to what our pastors had to say. But occasionally I would hear a service that would go, oh my gosh, I think he's talking to me. So I still had this feeling that I should know and I should understand and trust what's beyond us. And it really didn't happen until I was transformed and reborn in 1998. So I became a Christian, and then all of a sudden Marissa has this accident, and all of a sudden she can see the other side. And we talked to our chaplains or our pastors and ministers about it, and they literally kick us out of church. Seriously.
Not very good pastors. It's like a doctor kicking you out of his office when you go there sick.
It's like no,
you're sick.
Leave.
Yeah.
You're evil. Get out of here. Get out of here.
Exactly.
I had one pastor that was relatively open to what we were saying, but he was just being nice. Anyway, so where we got yesterday, we do this every day, 1 to 5. 1 to 2 West Coast time, and it's 2 o'clock my time. But anyway, we take from what we started this year in 2024 is we're gonna read from our channeled books that we've done over the last 12 years, and just various passages from the books where Jesus comes in, Peter comes in, Jude comes in, Tesla, Einstein, all these people come in, and we've got it in our books. And we left off yesterday where we promised Tesla that we would start out today. So that's what we're going to do. But then I think Marissa has a subject of truth or dare. So we'll see where it goes. We'll literally see wherever it goes. You can see all the books. I wish I had
Animal Crossing.
Yeah. So
the Nintendo game there. Yeah.
We got a lot of books, and as I've always told everybody, we wouldn't just channel and then take the channeling and put it in a book. We would take the channeling. I'd do a lot of editing, and then we would reread it again to see if it was correct. And then Jesus or whoever was the subject of the channel.
You wouldn't edit what was said, though. You would edit like spelling and all that stuff, or like whatever, to make it sound like it flowed. But the guides made sure that we never changed.
I never changed them. I only edited our conversation.
Oh, gotcha. Okay,
out of it, turned them into commentary. But I never touched what was actually channeled. So what we do is now is we're going to read various things from those and just see what Jesus today, and this is in real time. real time, January 25th, 2024. What is Jesus going to say on January 25th, 2024? And that's who we are. You can believe us or not believe us. It's up to you. You know, free will, free will. I'm a curious person. Marissa's curious. And I think the people who do find themselves sitting in front of this, watching this, are curious as well. They're going, what's that all about? Wait a minute. You know, I go to church. Everything I need to know is in the Bible. Or I go to temple, and everything I need
Temple
to
or
know is in the Torah. Or I go to my mosque or whatever, and everything I need to know is in the Quran. No, it's not. No, it's not. There's so much more to learn.
well, it may be. I think that as far as faith goes, if you have blind faith in something, I think that those books do have enough stuff. But I think that the people that find it hard to have blind faith in something, you know, that somebody else wrote or somebody else put together. I mean, I talk to people all the time when I go to church, and you know, I'll say like, oh yeah, you know, like I never realized that Paul never knew Jesus, and they're like, yes, he did. Yeah, he knew Jesus. He traveled with him for 2 years or whatever. And it's like,
No,
no. The Bible was written like by men after Jesus already left, and they put it all together for man to understand Jesus and stuff like that. And they're like, no. Paul and Jesus were like this, and I'm just going like, no, I don't think. I don't. Then I start questioning myself because they're like so sure of it. But yeah, I don't think that many people know much about anything really. But the blind faith is the kind of the blind faith that I wish I had, was the blind faith that kids have like in Santa, you know, or the tooth fairy or the Easter bunny or whatever. And then I think once kids are you know, realize that wasn't completely true, I think then we have a hard time with God after that, honestly, because we like so blindly believed in that before.
If you ask me a question and all you're getting is a blank stare, it's because you keep breaking up, but it's
Oh, really?
It's my Wi-Fi. You're not. So I sit quietly and let you sit there frozen, and then you come back on. But if you ask me something and you see me staring like an idiot without moving, it's because we're in a little bit of a break when the satellites move. I think it's when our signal switches from one satellite to another. We got Starlink. And then my deepest apologies to Tesla. I understand he's into your session right now, because I just realized we really only have one little section in our book. It turns out to be Jude's book. No. Which book is this? Yeah, it's Jude. It's the 8 Greatest Authors. No. Mysteries of the Earth. Mysteries of the Earth. I'm sorry. Our book, Mysteries of the Earth. We have Tesla in there, but I now remember I've got tons of recordings of Tesla. And I remember when I was putting the book together, I thought, well, if I put all of that in, this book is going to be way too big. So I'll put a little of Tesla, and I'll put a little of this, and a little bit of that, and a little bit of this. And so I've still got lots of Tesla.
Oh, we have a bunch of Tesla in there that we never used, because I know that he's the main character in one of these books. Oh wow, poor guy. We chopped him out of all of them.
I'm not even sure where all my transcripts are, or transcripts for that. So anyway, so maybe Tesla can fill things in and hit the subject you're looking at for today. But what I have is Tesla on the Anunnaki. Tesla on the Anunnaki. And, but I'm sure we can take it. For those of you who don't know who the Anunnaki is, many people, extra biblical.
Hence the topic, truth or lies.
Yeah, okay, truth or lies. Were we actually designed by the Anunnaki? And that's what a lot of people think. About, 400,000 years ago or so, they started tinkering on the animals that were on this earth, until eventually they came up with a human. And that human ended up having DNA from them, their Anunnaki DNA. And
so they're basically saying that God doesn't exist, that the Anunnaki is God.
Well, God created the Anunnaki. God.
But they also say God created us in His own image.
Yeah, and who's God? Then who's God?
Exactly.
Because forever we always worshipped idols as gods. And maybe, once the Anunnaki made us, we would just naturally think they were God. But, who made the Anunnaki? God made the Anunnaki as well. So anyway, just curious to see what Tesla's going to say.
The Razukan.
So, you want me to go ahead and get started? Anything else to say?
Razukan.
You're frozen. Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm not. Razu Khan made the Anunnaki, is what I just heard.
Okay.
The Razu Khan. Let me let Tesla and the other guides come through real quick. You want to
Okay.
Oh yeah, it's quiet. I can't hear your background anymore. Okay. Okay, so here's what the guides are saying. Okay, so first let me just say a prayer again. Okay, so thank you, God, for bringing us together today. We ask that our higher selves come together. We ask that our egos and our logic be set aside, our intellect be set aside to the greater part, which is both of us, me and my dad, come forward and communicate through us freely and clearly with no fear of judgment, rejection, or anything of that sort coming from the outside of us. We ask that only that which is for our highest and best good and the highest and best good of anyone watching this right now come forward. I don't want to see anything that I have to make a moral decision whether I'm going to tell what I see or not. Only show me what I should share and only channel through me what I should speak. I don't want to have to filter it. We ask that Yeshua, Ben Joseph, the Spirit, the Soul, Emmanuel, Jesus, Christ, the whole lineage of Christ, step forward now and connect in with us. We ask that if there's any angels that are for highest and best good, we're going to allow God to determine who those are and allow them to come in and determine which guides, which teachers, which spirits are allowed to connect in with us now to bring us information that we can use and share with anyone watching this. We ask that anyone else's higher self that's watching this connect in with them and allow them to rise up above duality so that they can feel the energy of the beings that are coming through us, which is God, Christ, Holy Spirit, and the angels and the guides, and our higher selves, of course, and our souls. That they be able to feel that, become healed by it, and just by hearing this for even a couple seconds, be able to be shifted into a space where they were not in prior to watching and give them a better day. Amen. Okay. Jesus is here. I've got someone named Sapphire.
I have no idea.
Yeah, I just heard Sapphire. Sapphire wings.
I just saw.
Treasure things. Uh-huh.
No, I just heard feedback. I just heard myself, but it went away again. So anyway,
Oh,
I'm
okay.
sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. It says sapphire wings, treasured things brought to us brought to us about all of us. For when we enter into this world, we bring about a shift and a change within our consciousness, within our mind, within our souls. The ocean just got really, really loud.
Oh, I'm sorry. Here, let me take.
Nothing. It's like we're gonna start roaring now that you're talking. And then it says sapphire wings, treasured things, brought into our hearts, brought into our minds. For when we can see that tinkering was not meant to be, we'll begin to know and understand what we should see, we should know, and what we should talk about. For when you can begin to understand that the human design is not a design at all. It is a mirror image of that which created us, and that which created it is nothing at all. It was, always will be, and always will be. And it was not created, it just was. I just said, that's not even possible. Something has to be created. And they said, no, a thought can be thought and something can manifest, something can become. You can think a thought and something in this intelligent universe in which we live, in this space in which we operate in, a simple thought can become something. A simple thought can become a complete being. It is not as if many people will say, oh, there's aliens that made us. So they picture aliens with their operating tables cutting stuff open and going, oh, let's add a colon in here. Oh, no, let's do a stomach. Okay, no, let's do this. No, let's do that. And what people must understand is the world that we live in is really quite old indeed. This world that we live in is infinitely old. The soul plane in which we live is quite different indeed. So when you talk about these Anunnaki or you talk about creation, you're speaking of the soul plane. So the soul plane is the movie. The soul plane is the script. The soul plane is that which was created by man. Man existed prior to this, always will exist, and they just do. They just exist. So understand that God created these and then they were created. But this was billions of years ago, billions of years ago. The soul plane is designed to appear as if it's like the real world, like the reality that we live, but it can be set in any given time, any given space, any given atmosphere, any given place within our minds, hearts, and souls, and on this planet of ours. There are other planets indeed, yes, but they're also part of the soul plane. So anything that's part of the soul plane is, in essence, something like you are creating a life in the dream world. You're going into the dream world to live a life, and you can live a very happy life, but is it real life? And we say, yes. If you can feel, if you can emote, if you can generate thoughts, then it is real. Just like a dream feels very, very real when something emotional happens inside of it. You feel like it was real, but it's just in a different reality. Tesla says, and so if you can begin to see that the utopia in which we go to, where we want to retain our own personalities, is a way of contributing to the soul plane that we were born into, because there are many different subsets of the soul plane. There's many different quote, games that we can play. We can enter into a certain world and live in that timeline and do things and learn and grow. And then when we leave, we remerge with our soul and we go into a different space and place. But if we want to remain ourselves, if we want to continue playing the game from this side, we can. It's not like when you die, you're dead and you're gone. When you die, you just move on to the next second, the next minute of the day, and you go about whatever you were doing prior, or you choose to be dead, you choose to not be alive, and you choose to be in spirit, and you choose to either be earthbound or cross over or go to the place in which I am, which we have called utopia. Utopia would be a place whereby many scholars go to. So it is not an intellectual hell, as you've discovered yesterday with your dear friend. It is an intellectual heaven, an intellectual heaven. So we go here and we use all the things that we learned when we were on Earth, because let us just say you're playing a video game and you've acquired a bunch of tools and you've acquired a bunch of weapons and you've acquired a bunch of money in the game, and then you die and you have to start all over. You can do that, or in this case, it would be the ability to not necessarily start over, but to just keep on going from where you are so that you can continue playing your game, knowing full well that you're not getting points for it. You're not, nothing is going into you're not playing the game anymore. Now you're in the after game, but you get to keep all your stuff from that game, all your knowledge, all of your weapons, all of the things that you acquired during that game, to turn around and look at the game and how you struggled with certain things and make it a better place to play in. So there's many of us that will stay after the game is over to make the game a much more fun place to play in. So it's up to us to do this, and I'm very proud of this role that I carry in making this a much better place. But just know and understand that you cannot go here with your soul. Your soul awaits you. It sits outside of this reality and awaits you so that you can remerge with it and continue on your soul path. So this isn't necessarily part of your soul path. It's just something that many spirits like to do because it's fun and they don't want to lose their consciousness. They don't want to lose all the stuff they acquired during the lifetime. They don't want to lose the experience, and they want to contribute to everyone else's game playing experience by inventing things and then sending down those inventions via thought patterns into several different inventors all at one time, whereby everybody will say, I just invented XYZ thingy. Oh, I just invented ABC thingy. And the other person across the world in Australia says, hey, I just invented ABC thingy, and I just invented the XYZ. And everyone starts fighting. No, I invented it first. No, I invented it first. He says, I invented it first. He says, any of us up here, we invent it and then we send it down. And I said, well, are you part of our higher self? He says, yeah, we're part of the same higher self. He says, everyone's part of the same higher self when you get to the very tippy top or the very tippy bottom. He says, but he says, same soul, you and I? He says, not really. He says, 4D, yes, 5D, no. He says, the reason why I can enter in so freely is because of that connection that we have in the fourth dimension. So that's why I can see him so well, because he's like a version of one of our souls. Cool. Okay. Oh, and he says, yeah. And I said, why did you want to talk to us about truth or dare or whatever? And he says, human beings are afraid of the truth. Human beings are afraid to tell the truth. Human beings are mortified to listen to something that may be true but doesn't fall into their category of truth. So we wanted to discuss this, but we can allow you to read some of your book that you have there, Joe, you would like, and then we can discuss this towards the end, because we find that when we watch human beings and when we even enter in as ourselves into the human beings, that from a very young age, it is extremely hard to know truth. Parents and children don't speak truth to each other. The parents keep things from kids, which is fine. The kids keep things from parents, which usually isn't that fine. But this world that we live in is a very self-serving world whereby we don't want to feel uncomfortable, and we don't want to tell the truth about how we feel, the truth about how we look at something, because we're afraid of being criticized. But this falls into the category of truth seeking, and it also falls into the category of basic housekeeping, like family relations, whereby truth becomes a very important thing in the world, and truth is one of the things that is completely robbed from the world, which is why Yeshua came bringing the spirit of truth, so the spirit of truth could sit within each individual, and each individual could feel that within themselves and know what truth was, because this is a world of lies.
That was all Tesla, correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
There was one thing that he said that brought a question in my head before I read anything, and that's that he said that he let his soul stay outside while he stayed in this plane to watch the earth. And that made me think, is that true? Can that possibly be? What happens if somebody goes to hell? Does their soul have to go to hell with them? Does the soul leave the personality and the spirit that person had while he's in hell? Where's the soul go when the human personality gets sent to hell? Does the soul have to be punished because he couldn't turn
The
that
soul,
human around to be
look at the
good?
soul as a life, like a life stream that's there waiting for the consciousness to leave hell, to enter back into it. So the soul, you can look at it like, you don't like this, Joe, but look at it like the soul is the whole human body, and then the consciousness is just a little thought within that soul. So that like a thought is the consciousness, and that thought carries the little spark that we are in it, and it will go into hell, and it will think that it's the totality of what it is. It'll think that it's everything that it is. It'll think it's its soul, but it's trapped in a repetitive pattern of hell-like experiences. And the soul does, in essence, experience it to some extent, because when the consciousness remerges with the soul, there are the memories of it within it, and it does experience a bit of it, but it does not. It's the Father is the energy that is within us when we can feel love, when we can know love, and when the intellect is not the number one thing, and it's a sense of truth and knowing within us, free from the need from the brain and free from the need of the flesh desires. Does that make sense?
No, maybe. Um, I,
So the soul does go
I
to
may
hell,
have,
yes,
I may
but
have
not the whole
missed the.
thing.
Okay, so the soul does go down
But not
with
the
the
whole, yeah,
person
not the whole thing. Yes, it does go, but it doesn't. It's
to
the
experience that. The soul went
yeah,
to
the
experience that
soul,
as well.
let's say the soul is let's make the soul like have like 1,000%. It's like 1,000% of it is the soul. 100% of the consciousness, there's 100%. So let's say there's 10 consciousnesses in one soul, and those 10 consciousnesses are life. They're humans, they're people, they're beings that live throughout eternity. And as those consciousnesses fall into hell, and they fall down there, they can't feel love, they can't feel the love of the Father, they can't feel the love of the soul. This is when the soul will sometimes choose to take all of its consciousness, everything that it is, and incarnate into reality to try to save those consciousnesses from hell. So that's where all the fallen beings fell, because they went, oh, I love my consciousness that I created, I love the being that I am, that I was, I don't want to leave it down in hell. So they will incarnate to try to save their consciousness. And usually in the interim, they'll realize, oh, it's kind of cool being down here and knowing everything that I know. And everyone kind of, thinks that I'm God down here. This is pretty cool. And that's when they end up staying, or they run out of energy and they have to start pulling from other people's energy in order to stay down there to save their souls. How do they save their consciousness? This is a good question indeed. When a soul wants to save one of their consciousnesses from a life in hell, they will enter into this reality as a being temporarily, the way the angelics do, or they'll enter in as a spirit guide that has a lot of energy, or they will be a walk-in. They will quite literally walk into their human and take that human over and try to change that human's trajectory through life so that they can not end up in hell.
Well, if they do a walk-in, what happens to the soul that's inside that human? Does one soul just boot the other one out? What, what happens
There's no
there?
soul technically in the human. There is a soul in the human. The soul, look at it like a flashlight. The flashlight, the light is shining through the human being, and that's the soul with the soul path. Look at it like a flashlight beam. When they incarnate down, that means that that soul is taking the entire beam that they are, and they're taking it and they're putting it completely into that one human being rather than all the other human beings that they created. So they're investing everything that they are into just one of their creations. And this doesn't happen all the time, but it does happen. It does happen indeed. So another soul may step in and say, hey, I'll watch over your human while you go and you dive into that human. And I hope you come back. And so another soul will kind of scan and watch over. Because remember, we're not technically our soul. Our soul is the Father that is guiding us, that's leading us. The soul is our spirit. When you think of the soul, you're probably thinking of the spirit. The spirit is more of the essence of who we are. It's what we are. It's what we are when we die. The soul is more like the story. It's God within. It's the truth within. It's our path. It's everything that we will live out in our life. Our soul carries that within it. So if the soul is not with us, many beings here live with no souls. They don't have souls. If they don't have souls, they don't have the life force energy that comes from God. So there are very, very, very many soulless beings here on the planet.
Evil. I mean, evil.
That's kind of scary.
Yeah, that's scary. Well,
Those are the reptilians. The Anunnaki were soulless.
yeah.
There's a lot of beings that are soulless, and the
Wow.
soul is just the soul plane. The soul plane is a game, a place where we play these games. And what happens is many beings don't have a soul, so they will take the soul of another. Because many times it doesn't really matter to some consciousnesses, what soul they have. They just want the soul because it's like a gas tank. It's energy to keep them going because they've lost their connection to God. So when a being doesn't have a soul, in essence, they can have a direct shot connection to God, the Holy Spirit, through Christ, and then Christ then becomes their soul. So that's the pure, that is the true goal here, in essence, is to have Christ as our soul and have our soul evolve and ascend and become Christ-like, so that we then our consciousness then is through Christ connected to the Father, because the souls that are down here are little like broken off flashlight pieces of the Father that are distorted, and they've entered into this world likely to save their consciousness from an eternity in hell. Oh, so we
What?
can take on the Christ soul. Okay.
I'm thinking. I've got all these questions. I know I want to get to Tesla and the Anunnaki.
Tesla's fine. Tesla's the one that is talking with
He's the
him
one
and Jesus.
talking. Okay.
Yeah.
When Jesus came down, it is said, at least in our books, and I don't know if anyone else has said, but Jesus initially was his ascended master before Christ came in and took over as his soul or whatever. That's my understanding. Where is my understanding? I think is that ascended masters are masters over a number of souls, so they're outside of the individual person. I think. I don't know, but he was inside of Jesus. I don't know. I'm so confused. So confused about the ascended masters and the soul and the spirit of the Father who lives within us. How does it all come together?
So the Ascended Masters are or 4D. They're part of the soul game. So they're part of the soul game, and there's a soul school. So in soul school, when you get to say 7th grade, and that's the highest level, you become a soul that has, and a consciousness combined, that have lived through a certain amount of things, that have attained a certain amount of wisdom, and that can emotionally hold their own. In essence, they don't fly off the handle into ego. They don't go into fear. They don't go into anger. All these things. They can actually hold their frequency at compassion, love, strength, and truth. Now, there are so many fake ascended masters. There's so many that will say, oh, they're an ascended master. and this word, we don't even really like it anymore because of the way that people have misused it. It's just a soul that has been self-actualized, that's self-realized, and that's awakened and enlightened. And that soul then enters into the soul plane after dying here, and will, in essence, contribute its frequency of love, compassion, strength, truth, and sometimes wisdom, and sharing knowledge of sorts. It's not like utopia. Utopia is the consciousness goes there, it retains its intellect, and the soul kind of waits outside. The ascended master is, in essence, the soul, and it carries with it experience and knowledge and hope, and it stays down here on the soul plane rather than going and leaving this world and going to another one. So it's basically someone who graduated college and just hangs around outside the college to help other people. This isn't necessarily
With a Christed soul? Would that mean?
a Christed soul. Would be a little bit different. A Christed soul would be one that is, in essence, done. It's done. All of its little consciousnesses have come back to it. It's graduated. It's done. It's done. It's a soul that is, in essence, pure compassion, strength, forgiveness. It is a piece of God incarnate. It's a piece of perfection incarnated. So it's, the ascended masters are like little miniature versions of that, and they're, and again, we don't really like the term for it because it's only fourth dimensional. Because when you get in the fifth dimension, that's where you get into like the Christed souls. The ascended masters remain in the fourth dimension. If they were to cross over in the fifth dimension, they would become a Christed soul. But they're choosing not to. They're choosing to stay down where all the souls are struggling and having a hard time crossing over, and not having a very good time living in their human bodies and all this sense. So look at them as just look at them as grad students hanging around the college, and then look at the Christed souls as the ones that have gone out and lived their life and lived their major and done everything that they went to school for, and were grad students, and they lived life and they lived it to perfection. And now they've come back to teach what it's like in the real world, to use all the knowledge that they had, and to attain students that can then follow them, and they can guide them and lead them in life. So it's a little bit different. Now, when the soul, if you want to look at the soul as a essence, you can look at the soul as an essence. Oh, the waves got really, really loud just now.
Oh, okay.
They're going to talk for like 2 minutes, so they just got real loud all of a sudden. If you look at the consciousness, look at the consciousness as a student, and you look at the soul as its guide, and you look at God as the, well, I just twitched, but it's God as the teacher. The teacher, wait, teacher at school, the professor. Okay, God is okay. Now there's all these different levels. So God is the teacher, the soul is the guide, and then the consciousness is the student. So the consciousness is constantly learning. The soul is its guiding force. That and then the teacher is like the higher self, and that's God. So the higher self is God, and it's basically teaching through creating this plan in the soul, and then it's breaking off a little piece of itself, and it's throwing it down into reality, and it becomes the consciousness. So each higher self creates a consciousness that goes down to live in this soul path. The ascended masters are just guides, basically. Just look at them as guides. So it's somebody who wants to teach, who wants to guide people, who wants to give knowledge, and instead of working on their own spiritual ascension from that point forward, they're helping others to build and get to that point as well. So yes, Yeshua was a soul that had lived before, obviously, as you know, many different incarnations. We won't go into all that, but lived many times as the soul. The consciousness always has to be, in essence, when one is a Christ being, the consciousness is made new. The consciousness is made completely new when it reaches a point where it's ascended into Christ consciousness, because it's in essence a spark from God is sent down, and that spark needs to find and become like Christ in order to get back. It's like sending a piece of you down into a world, forgetting who you are, and then knowing that there is a guide there to guide and lead you, and that is the Christ energy, and then the guides and the souls and the ascended masters and all those things that are there to help wither your way out of the maze that you're in, and find that consciousness that you are. And that's your soul. That's your soul. So the soul that's guiding you out of the maze in the forest is merely just a soul that's created so that it can help you and guide you and lead you, keep you strong, because you're not going to believe in God. You're not going to understand your connection with God. You're not going to remember God. So the soul is the closest thing to it, and it gives you life force energy. It allows you to continue to survive with the energy that you have, and then until you find Christ. And when you find Christ, then you're eternal. And now your essence or your consciousness, when it dies, it doesn't just keep going back and going over and over and over the same plan over and over and over and over. You just keep doing it over and over and over until you make it to the end and you become Christ. Once you become Christ, this is what becomes very interesting. Then you become a creator being within yourself. And many beings are Christ here. In fact, about 25% of the planet is Christ in essence. So the same Christ, obviously, and 25% of the people on this planet are offshoots of this Christ being, because you aren't created and then Christ doesn't go, okay, here, now I'm going to take my consciousness and send it down. No, God sends his consciousness down to find Christ. And then when you become Christ, a golden sphere of consciousness, that's when you then can incarnate and make this world that you're living in. And that's when many beings are made from that same Christ. And that is what Jesus came down to embody, to help guide all of his consciousnesses back that were lost down here due to many of the we call them the silver consciousness and then the gold consciousness. The silver consciousness would be that which comes directly from God down. It's a spark of life, and it lives and it learns how to be emotional. We call them elemental beings, and they learn how to live in the earth and be of the earth and have emotions and have feelings and incorporate them into a human body. And then the Christ beings are the ones that have already attained emotional maturity in essence, and they're here to be creator beings, not create man, but create reality. Interesting. And he puts consciousness within the human beings. Yeah, and then Christ puts consciousness within the human beings. So some people are born as Christ and some people are not. Some people are born as just an I am, which is the silver consciousness, and some are born with Christ consciousness. And that's a lot of these kids were born with Christ consciousness after 2012 because of Christ consciousness. Oh, okay, so now everything is born, the earth is ascended out of that silver consciousness into Christ consciousness. And that's why everyone wanted to come to this planet, because they figured, I just can't make it through the maze. I cannot make it out of my silver consciousness. We're just using that word just to differentiate between the two. I cannot make it out of that maze, but Earth is about to make it out of the maze itself, because Earth is its own soul. So I'm going to go ride that train into the fifth dimension because I can't make it out on my own, and I don't want to be stuck in hell my entire life forevermore. Oh, that's why everybody wanted to be born on the planet right now, so that they could ride the wave out of the fourth dimension, which is basically like hell, and into the fifth dimension. But then the pandemic came and they were like, oh no, we're going to put everyone in fear, so everybody's back in the fourth dimension and not in the fifth dimension. But just recently in this December, we went back into the fifth dimension like we were in December of 2019. So now everybody's back in creator consciousness. Now everybody that's on the planet can create. Interesting.
I hope all the way through what your channeling was, you kept breaking and breaking, but
it's recording over here.
Yeah, it's recording on that side, and I don't want to say anything. That's why I'm a little nervous about reading today, because I'm afraid I'll freeze up, and then we'll miss little gaps. But you talk about the fourth dimension, and how spirits, ETs, whatever, can slip in and out of the fourth to the third dimension. So what I picture the fourth dimension as this big water slide at the water park, and we're sitting up on the top, and that's the fourth dimension, and we're looking down on the third dimension, and then you say, okay, here I go, and boom, you jump on the slide, and down the slide, up into the air, down into the water, and you're now into the third dimension. So I picture going from the fourth dimension to the third dimension as a big water slide. I don't know. Yeah,
that's interesting that you say that, because that's so accurate. Like, I mean, it's like they say that Christ is a living water within us. And if you think about it, if we're up there and we're sliding down this water slide down in the third dimension, it literally is the water. And when we do healings, and when I do like session with Scott, we could see everybody kind of stuck under the water. And that's why Jesus came down to fish his little consciousnesses out of the water, because they're all down in the water with Leviathan, the sea monster. Leviathan means sea monster. And all these consciousnesses are like drowning in the water down in the third dimension, because we're in a water world. And then Peter walks on water, because he comes out of fear. And there's all these things about walking on water and rising up out of water and stuff like that. So I think that's really accurate. The guys are saying that's very accurate actually with the water slide, because when we're writing down, we're just like, okay. And then it's like, we're in a belly of a mom, and then we're born out, and we're here in this water world. And it's up to us to re-merge with, that which we came from. And that's having faith that we can rise up out of the water and not live in fear. It's interesting.
That's great. Well, listen, I don't know whether we should just keep it a short show today because we're already over 45 minutes. Should I read anything? Should we wrap it up now?
Let me see what they have to say about the truth or dare thing.
All right. I'll turn my microphone off, and you wrap it up. We'll get
because your voice is kind of going. Your voice is going a little bit. So
yeah. Good. Okay, let me get out of here.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, so the guides are saying. Mary is here. Mary and Kaya, and I think that's Tawny's guide, right? Yeah, I have Kaya too. Mary and Kaya, and I think Tawny's. I feel like Tawny's energy is here. And Eden. It's all the female guides. All the female guides are here. It's Mary.
Yeah, Kaya is Tawny's angel or guide or.
Yeah, and that's my guide. That's the one that I met. The one that has the like real greenish bluish eyes, and she was the one where when I was writing my book up in at the hot springs above Santa Barbara, I can't remember, Ojai. And I was at this really cool hotel where it's like you look like you live in a tree house and there's trees everywhere and you're up in this hotel. And I was writing my book and I was like trying to figure out what I was going to name the spirit guides, because I was like, what am I going to name these guides so that everyone can understand that, like, we're not just talking about all these like whatever. And I was suddenly sucked out of my body and I was in a spaceship and I was this big. I was like tiny. I was microscopic. And this is like real as if it was happening. And I don't have like teleportation things happen to me often, but I was just like, so like, I don't know. I was just connected. And so I got sucked into the spaceship and I hear these three guides. One of them had to have been Peter, because he was like, ha ha ha, let's show her a fuzzy bunny. That'll keep her occupied for about 15 days. Like they're trying to decide what they're going to show me, like so that I would be like, oh, I know, I'll call the guides this or I'll call them that. Like they were teasing me, they were making fun of me. But all of a sudden they stopped and they were just wearing like space suits. They're wearing like what Star Wars, not Star Wars, what Star Trek people wear, like the intergalactic spacesuit things that they ride on the Challenger spaceship or whatever that thing is called. Jeff watches Star Trek, I don't, but and there was three of them, and then all of a sudden one nudged the other, and they looked at the TV, and they saw that the TV was like blank, and they went, and they morphed into like spirit guide attire. Like they turned into like Abraham and Peter, and they were wearing like old biblical robes, clothes, and they were like, well, let's ask the big guy what we should tell her, because I had said, what am I supposed to call the guides? I need help, I need assistance. And all of a sudden there was this spinning fan in the roof, and like a beam came down, and it was like the holograms that you see on Star Wars or Star Trek, where it's like the beam me up sky thing, and it was me, and it was Kaya. And she said, and she says, oh man, I don't remember what she says. I wrote about it. She said something like, you guys be nice. And you could tell she was like the captain of like the ship or something, but she was like the head person that was in charge of everything. But it was me, but it was Kaya. So if Tawny's seeing Kaya, then that's probably who she's connecting with. It's like a master consciousness. It's like a higher self consciousness or whatever. But I remember her saying that just saying she looked down and she like winked at me, and then because she could see me, and then she pooped on the TV, and the TV showed Ojai, and they threw me back in the TV, and I woke up. It was the weirdest. It was so cool. But yeah, that's Kaya, and Kaya is like my Earth guide or something like that. So anyway, she's here, and yeah, all the guys are here, and they said this is what everyone must understand in this world today, and this is something that we wanted to share so that everyone can understand and see and know that the world is destroyed by the inability to tell the truth. The world is destroyed by the inability to tell the truth. If everyone could tell the truth, if everybody could be honest, then the world would be a much different place. But what we must create is a conducive environment for that which is the truth. For when we as human beings do not want to know the truth, say a parent with their child, you ask them, did you do this chore? I don't want to hear anything until you say that you've done it. I don't want nothing until you've done it. And so the child says, well, yeah, I've done it, or something of this sort, because the child has something much more pressing and much more important on their mind, but they can't say anything to the parent. They can't tell them. So in this world, we are creating an environment where the government can't tell the truth, where parents can't tell the truth to the kids can't tell the truth to the parents. No truth can be told because there is nobody that is being open-minded enough to hear the reason why somebody may need to not say exactly what it is that the government wants to hear, or what a boss wants to hear. The boss says everybody must have these things completed in the next 24 hours, otherwise or else. And let us just say that a new client comes in and that person says, this client is much more important than getting these reports done. So I'll just tell my boss that I'm done with these reports and I'll take care of this client, so that the client will be happy. And then later on, we'll have more business because of this client. But the boss is so narrow-minded to say, I just want the reports done and I don't care about anything else. And then this is when lies begin. So what we wanted to share was that kids start with these games: truth, dare, double dare, promise to repeat. They start with these things when they are young children, and they become afraid of the truth. They become afraid of the truth. They become afraid to share their emotions and their feelings. They become afraid to share their vulnerabilities with friends. Let's say that a friend doesn't want to go out and go to a drinking party with their friends. They're going to lie and say that they do because they don't want to feel like they don't fit in, when in reality, maybe only one of those kids out of the 10 wants to go and all the other ones are lying. And then they're then lying to their parents, and they're then lying to everything, when in this world, there's not enough space that is created to tell truth. So we wanted to give an exercise to parents, to adults that are watching this, to allow yourself to be open and available to hear truth, even if it's not what you want to hear. Truth that you don't want to hear, and the ability to process it and understand why that truth is something you don't want to hear, but is helpful to a child or helpful to a friend or a coworker or something of this sort. So we want to say that truth is an orange. The truth is an orange. Just as we have given you exercises with the snow globe before, we want you to say, this is my truth. This is my truth right here in this orange. And imagine an orange in your hand. You can imagine looking at it from all directions with your eyes closed or open. It doesn't matter. Imagine how it feels. Is it firm? Is it soft? Is the skin thin? Is it thick? And then think of something that somebody has told you in the past. Think of something that somebody has told you that is a lie or a truth. You don't know whether it's a truth or a lie. And then say, this orange now represents what they told me. And then what we want you to do is imagine throwing it up in the air, sending it to God. God will send back something. If it comes back as an orange, what they told you was for your highest and best good, was for their highest and best good, and was conducive to the truth that lies within all of us. And that truth is love, compassion, strength, truth, and the ability to love each other, know each other, and live a happy life. Just because somebody makes a rule, just like the Muslim church, they say, this is the rule, you must do this, you must pray this amount of days, so people will do it, or they'll lie and say, yes, I did my prayers. I did my prayers. But instead of their prayers, they went out and bettered their life in some other way, or they had a good relationship with someone, or they did something that made them feel good, that made others feel good, but they didn't do their prayers on their prayer rug. They didn't do those. So was their lie truly harmful, or was it helpful? So when you look at these things, you have to look to see what the entire circumstances are of something and determine what is the deciding force of what's the truth and what's the lie. So when the orange comes back, say it comes back as an orange, that means that it is still something that resides within truth. If it comes back as something else, it just means it's a bold-faced lie that they lied, maybe to harm you or to harm other people, or just to be bad. But in most cases, when somebody says something that is untrue, it's out of fear of judgment of the one that they're lying to, but out of needing to satisfy something within them. So if it comes back as, say, an apple, it means they're trying to satisfy their need to fit in, or their need to something that's flesh, earthly matters. And that is something that should not be done, because they are are defying the truth within themselves and hurting themselves rather than helping themselves. But if it's something that is still an orange, that means it still lies within the truth within all of us, because we all have that truth within us. And so Jesus says, yes, it's very true. Jesus says he had told he told things that were not true. He said things that were not true. He lied to his apostles at times, and he lied to people when he would disappear. And it was so that he could be in alignment with the Father, and people just wouldn't have understood. They wouldn't have understood. So when people don't understand, sometimes they just need to be told, yes, yeah. But the higher purpose was to stay connected and to keep all of them safe from being harmed.
Well,
And I said,
what?
Kaya, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, we got about 2 minutes. I remember I asked Jesus one time, I said, are we sinned for every lie we say? What about little white lies to avoid hurting another person? And I remember him saying, well, you can kind of get away with that. That's not really bad in God's eyes. So I could picture Jesus knowing that he wanted to go up on the hill. He wanted to go up there. He didn't want anybody to chase him around. He would just say, look, I'm going to the bathroom or whatever.
Yeah.
And then you go up on the hill where he really wanted to go. So anyway, wrap it up, Marissa. I better go. I'm
okay.
not going to leave,
but they also said when it comes back as an apple, it means they said the apple means that there is a demonic force or something that's not the person in charge of them. So if it comes back an apple, say God heal them and throw the apple back up in the air, and it'll come back down as an orange, and it'll get rid of any entities or attachments that the person has that lied to you. So it's a healing. That's cool. Wow, I'm going to throw that thing up and down a lot for anyways. Okay. All right, everybody. We will see you tomorrow's Friday, and we'll see you tomorrow on Friday. Have an amazing night. DiscoverIntuition.com, and go to intuitionmedia.vhx.tv. It's my new app. Check it out. You'll like it. Okay, it's a meditation app, and it's awesome. Okay, I'll put it down in the description too. Okay, bye everyone.
Bye everybody.